So now you've got your ship and you need to know where to go. Well, first off is the marketplace, which is here. Big sign above it says shop now, open, stores open. You come here, big marketplace sign, and you head inside. But on your way in as a new player, do make sure that you pick up the spawn point for the marketplace so you can respawn here at a later date. You come across to here and you pick one of these empty slots, which will look like this, and you register with this, and you can teleport here anytime via the insurance transfer menu, and you can just select marketplace. Easy peasy, just make sure you do it. But then we can head inside. So to edit your ship, we're going to need some of those tools, just like the ones you used in the job. And to get those tools, you just have to follow through in here to the bolt shop. Now most of these tools are pretty cheap, except for the bolt tool, I think is the most costly one. But you'll need the bolt tool, a couple of magazines for the bolt tool, you need the cable tool and a cable magazine, and a pipe tool and a pipe magazine. This is the bare minimum you need, as well as picking up the durability test tool. We'll need that, that's going to be important to making sure our ship is flight worthy. So once you've grabbed those, you can come back to the other room. Oh, in fact, let's just go over to the SH instead, because over here is a few things that you're going to need. Now, you've already got your mining backpack, but you probably haven't got a pickaxe, so you can pick that one up here if you haven't got it already. This shop has a few items that you can get, but most notably the modular cargo ore crate is one of the main items we're going to be buying. Now, this is worth quite a pretty penny at 88,100 credits. So you might have to grind a little bit in the job first to get that done, or you can go out and do some mining with just the 5 crates you have on your ship to get some initial starter cash. That one crate will probably cost you the same amount as bringing in one type of ore from the belt. So be able to get another 5 of these with just one mining run. You've just got to buy that pickaxe first. So after you've gone there, the next place you'll need to visit, and providing you've got the credits of course, is just up here. This is where you can buy the majority of your ship components, and we'll need a few things from this list, which has a whole bunch of stuff, and we'll need a few things from this list. Now I'll be going over the full shopping list of items in just a moment, but first let's head over to the SSC and we can spawn our ship there so we can't be disturbed and we can edit the ship in peace. Now I've already got the teleport for it, so I'm just going to jump straight over to the ship hangar teleport, and you can see if I just run over here, we were down at the market just over there. So if you come from there to here, you can just fly as an endo, it's completely fine. And the terminal for this is over here. All these terminals that are available in this station are shown off in my station tour video. I'll link that in the top right, so do make sure you give that a look if you haven't got all the points yet. But yeah, same deal, scroll down till you find an empty one like this and you register here. Easy peasy. Now this big blue area, these are instant zones. Only people that are in your group currently can enter this zone. So if you're by yourself, you can enter this zone and no one can follow you, which also means no one can crash into your ship. Now you'd need to come over here to this list, scroll until you find your labourer, and just spawn it here. Easy peasy. So now you've got this, you're at the starting point to where you can now start to edit this ship. Now let's run over the shopping list in a little bit more detail so you know exactly what you need to buy, when to buy it, and how much it's going to cost you. So let's get down to this shopping list. To start with, you are obviously, as I said before, going to need a bolt tool. That's going to set you back 9,614 and change. And I'd also recommend a couple of bolt magazines to go with that. The cable tool, cable magazine, pipe tool, pipe magazine, and the durability test tool, you're going to end up spending just under 17,000 credits just for the tools. Now that may sound like a lot, but in Starbase money, that's chump change. Now moving on to the ship components, you know exactly what you need. You're going to need to buy 2 box thruster bodies, 2 box thruster chambers, 2 box thruster nozzles, 2 thruster gas converters, 2 thruster electricity converters, a YOLO chip socket, a basic YOLO chip, and 13 modular cargo crates. Now all in all, this is going to cost you 1.8 million credits. Now that is somewhat of a significant sum of credits, but do not worry, you can do a lot of this in smaller steps, and I'll show you the ways to appropriately do that when you're constructing your ship. A big chunk of this cost is of course in the upgraded box thrusters to give your ship more speed, more thrust, which you will need by the end of this because you'll be carrying so much more mass, you'll be going significantly slower. But for the most part, just to start with, you need that YOLO chip socket, and you're going to need a basic YOLO chip. And you can start with at least, I don't know, at least say 3 cargo crates. So that won't set you back too much money, and it will at least get you bringing in a lot more, and you'll be making more money quicker. So the second you have more money, get more cargo crates, add it onto your ship. You do that all the way up to 18 cargo crates. The YOLO chip socket and basic YOLO chip on here is just for the generator code. Now this will make your generator nice and efficient, and you won't need a button that you have to remember to turn on and off. It will all be done automatically for you, and it's one line of code that you can just copy and paste. After we've finished the main upgrades in this, we will be going over the optional upgrade that you can add to this ship. Now you might want to go further out, or meet up with friends that are playing the game, or faction and company members that are playing the game. You might want to go visit one of the outposts and maybe get back, or perhaps you've found a ship outside of the safe zone because you've dared to leave it, and you want to get some extra salvage back from it, but you can't get it all in one run. So you're going to need to know that location. And to do that, we can install ISAN from Collective, and they have 2 versions. You've got the ISAN Mono, which is one receiver. It's accurate whilst being still, but a little bit inaccurate when you're moving. Or you can install ISAN Quad on bigger ships, which will be accurate when you're moving or stop. Now the total cost of adding ISAN Mono to this ship will set you back around 150,000 credits. Exact prices is on the screen, and you can see I've got a nice shopping list of parts for you here, and you buy all of these parts at the exact same places I showed you before, so you won't have any trouble finding them whatsoever. Now let's get into the build. We're going to start with crates to start off with, because they are individual items that can be added either singly for this first one, or in pairs with one on each side as you go, as you mine more resources and get more money. Now my inventory is a little bit more full than yours, but you can use the handy search feature to be able to find your components. You just click and drag one, and then take it to the edge of the screen, and it will drop in world. You can pick this up with the E key, and you can move it into place. You can move forwards and backwards with the scroll wheel, and if you move it towards where you want to put it, you'll notice that it's very hard to get it into position. So if you press the C key, this will turn on the snapping tool, and you'll have no problems putting all of these crates in place when you need it. Now this is a quick easy one that you can do by adding this crate, and you want to do that first to finish off this row before adding any others. Another good thing you need to know is the test tool for the durability. You can either drag that to your hand from your inventory from a side slot, or you can assign it to the bottom keypad here. I've got it to 6, and it will just pop up. If you click on your ship, you'll see you'll have a warp class of 3.23, and that's completely fine as long as it stays above 1. The ship is flyable at max speed, and you will not have anything fall off. Now the cool thing about this tool is we can leave that tool on, go back to our bolt tool, and then we can start bolting. Now you can bolt this manually, go around all the spots that can be bolted, but it's easier to use the auto bolt feature of the bolt tool, in which case you just point at it and hold down your left mouse button, and as you can hear, nice clicky sounds, and it eventually turns green as it meets the criteria to be flyable within the warp class. Now the number disappears that was here. You'll need to switch back to the durability tool to see that. Again, as long as it stays above 1, you're good to go. You always want to keep this tool on you, because as you fill this ship up with ore, that adds mass to the ship crates. As you have more mass, it creates more stress on your ship, and if that number ever drops below 1, you want to make sure that you are dropping some of the ores that you've collected to make your ship lighter, and that way you'll be able to fly your ship back, and you won't fly it and have all the crates spontaneously fall off. Now another thing to notice here, that when you auto bolt this crate, it only auto bolts this crate. This crate still has missing bolts, as you can see by these points, as well as this one, so make sure you go back through to the ones next to it and auto bolt there so it can bolt back through. And then to keep adding more crates, you want to add these 2 at a time to each side of the ship as you get the money to do so. You don't have to do all of these upgrades that we're going to do in one go, but these crates must be put on 2 at a time just to keep the ship balanced. So as we add these, I'll just quickly fast forward so you guys can see, and then we'll move on to the next stage. So now we've got all 18 crates in position, we just need to quickly go around and check all the other crates from like these middle ones, make sure they are fully back bolted into the other part of the ship. That middle one's done, you can just see through this gap here, the back one there. You can also reach the lower middle 3 from the bottom as well. And there we go, they don't need any extra bolts, so this whole section is done now. This is 18 crates now at max capacity. I'll do a future part of the video where these can be taken out further by adding small wings to the ship to give it even more storage, but 18 is a good amount of crates to get you going, and it's far more than what the hauler has at its bare minimum 16 crates. So this starter ship is actually really well designed for this upgrade, and if we go back to the durability tool now, you can see we're still at 3.23. So with that section done, now we want to add control for our generator, which at the moment the generator can only really run at 2 values. You can either have it off, or you can press the button and it will set to a very specific value set up for this ship, so you can run everything and have no worries. But you don't want to have to keep pushing this button on and off every time you're flying a ship. It would be great if we could just have it do it automatically. And that's actually pretty easy to do. So to do that, we're going to need the chip reader. So if I just type in YOLO here, we've got the chip reader. And we just need to place this somewhere we can plop a chip down. And to rotate these, you can hold down the Y button, the X button, and the Z button will also help you roll these things into position. Now I find a good area for this is anywhere that you can easily access and still get hold of pipes and have this snap into position. So let's just see if that's further up. So this still needs lowering. If you can't get the snap that you want, so let's just turn that off. If you can't get the snap that you want for an item, you can grab it and you can't get it to go down. You can actually turn the snapping off temporarily by pressing C, and then you can get manual placement. So you can just lower this down till it's nearly there, switch back to your bolt tool, you can check that it's in the right position that you want, and then as with the crates, hold the auto bolt and it will bolt down. You check your work with your durability test tool, and again this number is still at 3.26, so that is now in. You then switch to your pipe tool, cable tool rather. With the cable tool, you can see that the little ball will auto snap to different areas. So we start here, come down to the beam, and then come across to the existing cable, and you can see it snaps there between different points. You want to make sure you've got it snapped and it will go straight into the cable. This YOLO chip reader is now connected to the ship's data network, and thus can affect anything connected to it. Once that's done, we just need to put in the chip, so we're going to need a basic chip. I've got one here somewhere, there we go. You can drop that in weld again, scroll button to bring it towards you. We'll get rid of this tool. And I picked it up from weld. There we go. Bring that back to us here. Rotate so we can look at it, and then you could just pull down on the padlock to open. This must have been one that I salvaged, so let's just get rid of these because we don't need that. When you click it, it auto zooms in like this, so you don't have any issue in terms of reading because it's all nice and zoomed in. So you just need one line of code for this, and this is that line of code. You can read it on screen here. I'll also paste a copy of this code in the description. Now the important parts here are the fuel chamber rate limit and the stored battery power. Now we're going to have to change this on this particular ship. So if I just hit escape here to come out of that, this ship does not have default names for batteries. They are named in priority 1, 2 and 3, and if we hit the U tool you can see battery priority 2, and that stored battery power has actually been renamed to battery 3. And then if I show you just up here on the side here, you've got individual panels to read those batteries. So one will drain, then the other, then the other. So we just need one of these to be able to be checked first. Now I believe it's battery 1 that's used first because that has the lowest priority goes first. So we'll take a copy of this name and we'll replace that part of the code. So this code will work specifically for this ship. So we just need to change this here. Now for YOLO, it's very important to have the colon here. That signifies that you're looking for a data field within the ship. And the fuel chamber unit rate, if we just quickly check that on here, fuel chamber unit rate is in there. So with this in, it should work absolutely fine. The only thing we'll have to probably change is the generator button, which I believe I think this changes the generator on and off. So you can still keep this button and you should be able to just pop this in. So what we're going to do is we're going to lock this chip and then we'll just get this to snap into position. Nice and easy. Turn it around and then press C if it's not snapping, and this should snap into position. There we go, you let go, and these don't need bolted, but I would highly recommend just chucking one bolt in on the corner, just because you don't want to accidentally pick it up and then suddenly you're not able to run your ship correctly. Alright, so just double checking here, generator. So this changes the limit. That's what we need to change back, yes. So if we just go back to our code, which I've handily got just on another screen, and what we'll do is we'll just replace this back to the old name, and you can see it starts flashing. That means the script is working, and we can just basically ignore this button now. You don't need it, you don't need to turn generator on and off. This is fully automatic and will rely on your batteries to work. So we can just jump in and fly, and when you park you don't have to worry about your fuel rod wasting away like this one has already wasted tons of fuel just sitting around just because I've had it spawned and forgotten to push the button. So with that done, you are now a lot more efficient in terms of fuel usage, and it will have a much longer time before you need to replace that or worry about fuel or anything on your ship. So yeah, that's the base set of upgrades that you can do before you start getting into a bit more involved things, and that is adding 2 more thrusters. Obviously with all these extra cargo crates, you are now quite a bit heavier and you'll find that you'll be running a little bit slower now. Now to counter that, this ship comes already equipped with 2 extra hard points that are set up to work for you. So we'll just drag all the parts we need here. We've got the box thruster, we've got the combustion chamber. Now again, these parts should snap just as all the others snap. You just got to hold it close enough to where it belongs, and there we go. And then let go with the E key. Once that's in, again, you can run the auto bolt tool and that'll be locked in place. The other part we need is the nozzle, and that goes on the other end, and that should just lock into place like so. And then we can auto bolt that as well. And then on one side of the thruster, you see this is the bottom, this is the top. You'll see there's a, oh, I've knocked it there. You got a blue and a purple slot. That is for your electricity and gas converters. Without these, your thruster will not work correctly. Now I just need to wait for this to snap in place. There we go, there's one. And I need to grab the other one, this one. As you can see, they're matching colours, super easy, you can't get it wrong really. I don't think they even fit in each other's slots. Now these don't need bolting, you can grab the thing and move it anyway. But I like to bolt them just in case they change anything in the future. They have bolts positions. And it's just 4 bolts total. Super easy, just put it in place, job done. Now, this is a hard point for your ship. And this is the hard point for the thruster. These need to match up. And this can sometimes be a little tricky, so once you've got it in place, I like to snap it somewhere close by, just so it's aligned with the ship. Pick it back up again, and we'll do some rotating to get it flat, and then round the other way, and now you're pointing backwards. You lower it down, and it's going to snap to a various number of places, and what you can do is you can see where the hard point is below, and you can see the hard point above. So you just need to make sure it's aligned. This can be a little bit tricky, just have some patience while you snap it into position.
5 minutes later.
Aha! I think I've got it. There we go. It's quite particularly hard to get that to snap into position. I'll have to think of some bolt placements for some new bits of plate work just to make that a little bit easier, but that looks like it is now aligned. There's an easy way to test this. Once you've got a thruster in place, where you can come down to here to the FCU and the main flight control unit, and the big blue and black one, you can see you've got all the thruster names here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to add 2 more to that and just type in what was there before, so thruster 17. We'll copy that and we'll also paste that into here to do thruster 18. Make sure you press enter, otherwise it will not stick. Now we've got our thruster names, we can come up to our thruster and we can press the U key and we can change thruster state to match that name. Once we paste that in and hit enter, if this value changes, then you know it's connected correctly on the hard point. Which it isn't. So is it not centered again? It's definitely centered. I'm just going to bolt this down and we'll see if it connects. There we go, just needed bolting. So, thruster 17, this has now changed from a 0 name. And because of that, you know that that is definitely centered correctly on the hard point, and you are good to go. So now I've auto bolted that in. If you auto bolt on, oops, that did this instead. I'm trying to get to that. There we go. You auto bolt the hard point, you'll have a little bit easier time there on keeping that thruster connected. Now we basically repeat the exact same process. Again, I bolt these just in case they change stuff in the future for terms of auto snapping and stuff that needs bolting and doesn't. I'll let go of that there. And then we need the Y, no, Z. There we go. And then we begin the same process again of trying just to get this to snap into position. There, I think. Easy way to help you check as well is see if it's lined up with the other thrusters, and then check if it's lined up to the center, which this looks like it is, and we can see the edges of the hard point there, so let's bolt that in place. Make sure you bolt the hard point as well, because that also helps you holding your thruster on. And then we'll do the exact same thing here, so we'll change thruster state to thruster state 18, and again that name and number changes. Once the number's changed, you know you're good to go. Now this is the full upgrade that you want to do, that everyone should do for their ship. One last check before you fly is check the warp class. It's still above 1, this is going to work fine. There's a few complaints here on the thrusters, or there's like, this has got a really low warp class, but it's way above 1. It's a false positive, you don't need to worry about that, so don't even bother. As long as this is above 1, that's all that matters. And if you're worried about it, make sure you're checking this before you fly away from an asteroid, and you could save yourself some heartache in terms of having a broken ship. But for the most part, this is exactly what you need to do to get up to 18 crates and speed increase for your ship, and you're ready to go. If you want to add ISAN to your ship, stick around, we're going to do that next. But first, let's just double check all our flight systems are working. We'll make sure we can turn. Turning works. Pitch still works. Roll still works. Although, if you're finding the ship a bit wavy like this when you're trying to position, a lot of the time that comes down to the controls. So if you do want to help improve that, you can just come into your controls right here on your U tool, and you can change the centering speed. Whoops. Which you should do while not looking at your seat. So if I move that up here, centering speed, you can change that centering speed to 100, and that will help that. So we did 1 there. We've got yaw here, so we'll change that value as well. 4 is really low for centering. I normally whack these all at 100 because this makes movement a hell of a lot easier. And roll, we'll change that one as well. It's only those 3 controls that you need to change. Set them all to 100 there. And now when I move, it doesn't kind of wobble as much, and it's a lot easier to move. And the final check is, of course, to jump on. I need to turn my tether on for the ship. For the lifeline, forward momentum is working. We'll aim up outside the station. And if we just jump out here, make sure we're landed on the ship. There we go. And we can see that all 4 thrusters are indeed working. We can see plumes from each of them. And so this is working. So let's jump back down into the editor and we'll stick ISAN on this ship. Right, so here we are back in the SSC zone where we can't be interrupted, and we will first need to do some edits to our ship. First things first, we're going to need the cable tool, and we're just going to undo with the right click just to take that off. I'm going to switch to our bolt tool. Oops, we're just going to turn the gravity boots off. You can do that with the G button if you don't already know. And we're just going to unbolt these, and then we're going to move this just up a little bit. We're just going to bolt it down over here for now, just so it doesn't despawn. And then we're going to go find our YOLO rack. So we'll pop that down, and we'll just rotate this into position. There we go, you want the little screen side down. We're just going to pop that in the exact same position. Now I'm just going to press C to turn off snapping, and then lower that down ever so slightly. Right, there we go. As you can see, the outline around it is currently red, and you want it to just turn green and just be above the floor plate there, and bolt that into position. And then we'll unbolt this, and we'll just stick this on top. Doesn't matter which way round this goes, as long as it snaps. Turn snapping back on with C, and bolt that back to this. So you've got plenty of bolts there. Once you've done that, oops, wrong button. We're going to want our internal part with the 2 slots. Again, just rotate this until it snaps in place. There we go, let go, and you can hold the bolt. It only needs 1, and you're all good to go. Now we just need to replace our cable, so that's all connected up. So we'll swap that back to our cable tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down the side here to the floor, and then into there. And then you need to connect this up via that little slot there. That's why we need the 2 slot and not the 3 slot, otherwise we could have done it with just 1. But the 3 slot doesn't have that connection piece, and we need that to be able to connect to the data network. Now we've got that connected, we need 2 chips. We need a memory chip, and we need one of the advanced YOLO chips. Now I'll throw a link in the description to the document that explains exactly what you need to do to install ISAN. You need the ISAN mono, and it's super easy. You just copy and paste the code. So let's drag out our advanced chip. We'll grab that. You can see it's got a different color side to it, so you know it's an advanced one. We'll rotate this into place, and we'll put our tool away as well. And then let go, and you can unlock that. Hey, this one's already got ISAN on. I think this is ISAN quad though. Either way, we want to be able to delete this. So I'll leave the last couple of lines because we need those lines so people know that it's ISAN. Now I'm just going to quickly tab out and get the code to copy across, and I'll copy in the code. So we have the code all copy and pasted in, and it's a slightly different from what was on there. So the previous one was for ISAN quad, but you need slightly different code for ISAN mono to work because it just works with the one receiver instead of 4. So now that's done, all we need to do is lock this chip, pick it back up and get it put in place. Use your scroll wheel to push it a little bit forward. These are also again snap without any issues of bolting, they just snap and they're locked in place. The other thing that you're going to need is a memory chip. So if we drag out the memory chip there, bring that closer to us and turn this around, you can see that this does not have a screen. So how you change those values is in here. You can come and change in these values. Now this has already been again a chip that I have salvaged before, so let's just drag out the other one that I bought, and this one should be an empty one. So if we check here, this is what it looks like normally. Chip fill 1, chip fill 2, chip fill 3. Let's just pick up that old one. Now to get ISAN working, it's super easy. We just need to set a couple of fields, which are XX. Make sure you press enter each time. YY, ZZ, you need CL, SD, and if you want to be able to read your position, you're also going to need POS as well, as that is the entire reason of using this. Now all these values will be automatically set by the code that we put in on the other chip, and then we just pop this also in this chip rack, and we are good to move on to the next part of this tutorial. Drop that there, job done. So that's the hard part of ISAN, and it's literally all given to you in the documentation, gracefully provided by the collective. So now we want to find a position for putting our receiver on. Now with the balancing of this ship is a bit top heavy-ish with a little bit more sticking out here. I'm deciding to put on the bottom for the hard point. Now to do this we're going to need to unbolt a few things. So I'm just going to move these out of the way for now. Chuck these here. So we can access from the top, we'll be able to access where we want to put our stuff. So we're just going to move these. And these will be put back into place when we're done. Just bolt these, just so they don't go anywhere. Okay, so to start off with, we are going to need a hard point. Drag that out to the edge of the screen. There it is. Now you want this end, this is already the correct orientation. So you just make sure that is nice and centered. And you can bolt this into position. Now 2 bolts on the corner is normally all you need. You can let AutoBolt do it, or you can just do it manually like that. Once you've got that, we are going to need our... Let's turn all these off. There we go. We're going to need our small navigation receiver as well. So I'm just going to drag that off to the side. When you're using these, make sure you grab it by the base because they are slightly buggy sometimes. And if you pick it up by this bit, you can sometimes pull it off the ship. And that's not what you want. So let's rotate this round. So it's upside down. Doesn't matter which way round it goes. And again, this snaps into place. Once snapped, again, just hold your mouse button down on it and you should auto bolt. Which it doesn't want to do. So, which is really strange. So you can just go in and you can bolt it yourself in here. I chuck a good couple of bolts in on each side just to make sure you get good secure bolting. The most important thing when you're bolting a ship is that these bolts go through and they go through to the beam. So the ones on this side don't really matter so much, but on the other side, having 2 on each side really helps keep it bolted, because you need these to go all the way through to the beam, and the more that hit the beam, the more secure it is. With that done, we can hit the U menu, bring up the tool, and you can see that these 2 different parts have different numbers on them. So we're going to start with this one. And again, the document gives you all the stuff you need for this. So we just need to change message and replace that with N1. We need to change signal strength, and this is going to be R1. Make sure you're hitting enter after each of these as well. Target message needs to be changed to M1, and the listen angle you need to change to 180 degrees. With those values set, we just need to make sure this is cabled in, and this is actually really easy to do as well. So again, go back to your cable tool. And you've got a couple of options here. I find the easiest way to do this is just to come from there, come through here, and then straight into here. Because anything that's connected to a crate, all these crates share data network between each other through these little pads, and these crates are already connected up to the data network, I believe, on top up here. So as long as you're connected to the crates, you're connected to the data network. We can go back to our bolt tool, and we can put these floor plates back in place. There we go. Now the final piece of this puzzle will be to put in the ISAN coordinates onto your display panel. So we don't need this generator anymore, because we are keeping our generator on all the time. So you can just pick that up with your E key, and then press P to pick it up to your inventory, and you can see it appears there in the inventory. Now we also need the 24 by 24 text panel. Drag that into the world, and then get that to take the position that the button previously had. These can be somewhat tricky to rotate into the correct position, so what we'll do is we'll just rotate it before we go near, and then it snaps down. We can hold auto bolt on this, and you get that. You hit the U menu on it, and you change the panel value to POS, just like we put in that memory chip, and there we go. It says loss of signal for now, but if we start flying around, that will most likely change. But we'll test that in just a moment. Just want to make sure everything is connected. The loss of, I know the chip's working because the loss of value is coming from the chip. It wouldn't say that unless the ISAN itself was working. So one last thing before we set off, I should double check that everything is still a-okay in terms of ship durability. And if we click, we can see the value says 2.6, but we do have a red plate here, which means this can come off. Now this has been caused by sticking too much on top, and also when we unbolted this earlier, it took out one of the welds from this beam. Now, quick way to solve the beam is you'll need to get yourself one of these welding tools and some power pack ammo, and just weld that beam back together. Basically, welds are just hidden bolts, and sometimes they can get unbolted when you're using the bolt tool. Once we've done that, we'll switch back to our bolt tool, and we'll try and add some more strengthening bolts to that plate so it can grab that. So this is still too much mass for that tiny little plate to take. It's only a decorative piece, so what we're going to do is we're going to bolt back from here into that, so this armor plate can hold a lot more strength. So we'll pop one bolt on that side, and we'll pop one bolt on this side. So now that is no longer taking the full stress of all the stuff stacked on top, and everything is now green. Nothing will fall off. You've got to make sure that you've got no orange or red bits on your ship. Again, back to the durability tool, still 2.68. We can fly without any issues. Jumping back in the seat now. Now everything's all hooked up correctly. We now have an ISAN coordinate, and if I move the ship, you'll see these numbers will change. So now you'll be able to go out and you'll meet your friends, get rescued, rescue other people, bring people tools they've forgotten, and also, more importantly, find really good patches of asteroids and record their locations so you can come back later. But for now, that is your upgraded ship, and I hope you enjoy. You've got more crates, more speed, and an ISAN system. Pop back for part 2 a bit later, maybe next week, and I'll show you how to extend this ship even further, but it's a little more involved process with beams and constructing stuff in world. So, there's your upgraded ship, you've got ISAN, have fun. Kenetor, out.